We're here with Coach J.T. Curtis, and Coach, I know it's for a lot of coaches, you have interesting off seasons, and every year here you have big turnaround and some seniors that are dear. You had one senior especially that was a little dear to your heart.
Sure was.
That's gone, but talk a little bit about what this off season has been like for you as you get ready for 2018.
Well, it's exactly what you said. Every year is a new year. Some years, obviously, you have more guys that are going to return than other years. But the bottom line is every team has got to form their own identity.
Yeah.
They've got to form their own work ethic. They've got to form their own unity and their own sense of pride of who they are. And, of course, this year's been no different. It's been a good off season, if you would. The good news is that we were in the state championship in baseball, and we went deep into track, into the state championships there. But it really kind of hindered our spring training a little bit. We had to jam things up to get it all in, but we did. We were able to get it in. And then, of course, we hit the summer, and we've had good summer workouts. I think things are going well.
Was it hard on you to lose that class? I know every class is different, but you had to be a little attached to that.
It was a really good group of kids, and they were winners. They were kids that really were committed, and I think you can't lose sight of the fact that athletics, high school athletics, really is such a preparation for them in their future and in their life, and learning to deal with disappointment. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you that losing that state championship wasn't a great disappointment, not only to us personally as coaches, but to our players. It was really difficult. And what I had to make sure that they understood was not a sense of failure, but that sometimes life just doesn't work out the way you want it to, and what you have to do is find a way to make it what you need it to be.
I asked that in particular question because, I saw in yours in that show, the inside look into the locker room and how emotional it was. And you got a kid like Marquise Albert who, couldn't play last year, and he could have just, turned his head to the whole thing, but instead of wearing his uniform and his helmet and going out there to rush for 1,000 yards, he came in and he wanted to be the emotional leader of the team, and he was. And then, for you to have your grandson, you've coached your sons, and now you got a chance to coach your grandson, and the whole story. It wasn't a Hollywood script because you didn't win, but you didn't have to win. I mean, the whole emotional thing of that season was
just to watch a guy like Marquise respond to that adversity and watch his teammates rally around him was inspiring. I can't tell you how hard that was when he hurt that knee. He actually didn't get to play in the first game against Landry Walker. We held him out because he had a wrist injury, and this was his first game and the second game in Shreveport. And when he came out, we thought it was really just a tweak. I saw him after the game and said, "How do you feel, Marquise?" I said, "Coach, I think I'm okay." He said, "I'm walking fine," and he was. And then to get the news on Tuesday that it was a torn ACL was just devastating. But the way his team rallied around him and the way he stayed involved with the team says volumes about him as a person. And that's what the real fulfillment in high school athletics is about. I mean, I'll always remember this team for that kind of energy and that kind of effort and that kind of camaraderie that was really exciting. And to watch your grandson play and have the opportunity to see him be successful was certainly a joy too. I remember Jack Salter. I had the opportunity to coach his grandsons, and Jack told me what a unique experience that was, and he was exactly right.
All right, let's talk about this team a little bit. And you have especially the leader, especially on offense, is generally the quarterback, and you have a quarterback in Colin Guggenheim coming back as a junior who has a lot of experience.
He really started to come into the role of being a quarterback as opposed to being just an athlete that was playing quarterback. Right. And I think part of that is because he's a really bright kid that does well in school and has a real understanding of the game.
Motion from right to left. Guggenheim and is running at 5, touchdown. A busted play turns into a touchdown. He ran in to Malik Wells right at the line of scrimmage. took a couple steps towards the turf, was able to keep his feet, and ran it in. So a fantastic job by Colin Guggenheim, and he gets the Patriots 1 point away from tying it up.
Has a little moxie about him. He doesn't mind to step out there a little bit and kind of let you know how he feels. And, of course, I got to put him in his place every once in a while, and that's always fun. I don't know if you knew, but, his dad played for me. Rodney played for me. And, he and Rodney are different personalities. But it's fun. It really is.
Do you have any changes to your offense? And I know it's hard for a guy that's been doing this since the 60s, the late 60s. And do you have things that you would change to fit
you know what? You tweak it all the time a little bit. But we fundamentally believe in option football. And I tell you what's interesting. You can see now option football coming into play in the full wide sets, where before it was all run and gun and so forth. And all of a sudden somebody discovered that if you can give a run-pass option into what you're trying to do offensively, it really puts the secondary and linebackers into a difficult position. So that's the reason that we really stayed with what we're doing offensively. We think the option equalizes a lot of things, and it really makes people have to play honestly on the fronts and in the secondary.
Did you see a day this season when you look at the stat sheet and you threw the ball 25 times?
I guess if we're way behind, but that really isn't accurate. We're going to throw the ball when it's advantageous to us.
Right.
I was listening to Coach O the other night talking about we're going to be in 3 wides, 4 wides, empty set, and his next statement was, but we're going to be 50-50.
Yeah, right.
And I thought to myself, exactly. He knows and understands that you've got to be able to effectively run the football in any league.
I don't want to get into too much personnel, but I do want to talk about your running backs and what do you have at running back that'll change?
We got some guys. We're going to move Chancey Crum, played linebacker for us last year. Chancey was a running back as a freshman.
Right.
He's going to come over and play some running back for us. And then the Goins boy will step in and play. And we got several guys that'll be able to step in. And
you've always been good. You've always been good about making sure that especially at that position, that you might have 5 different guys touch the ball in a game to get as much experience as they can.
And I think where that really paid off for us was last year when we lost Marquise.
Yeah.
I mean, you go into the season with the anticipation of a guy like Marquise, who had such a great junior year.
Right.
It's going to be the bell cow, and all of a sudden he's not there. So we try to always be thinking a year ahead, and let's make sure that we get these guys some touches. And we've been able to do that. And so even though they don't have the name experience, they have all been under the lights. And
you have plenty of talent at receiver.
We got some good skilled people. We got some good speed that's going to play at the receiver for us again. We unfortunately have lost our tight end. We really had a disappointment in the second to last day of spring training. Levon Williams tore his knee on a catch I've seen him make 1,000 times, and came down on it wrong and tore his ACL. So we've lost him, and we're going to have to find a replacement. But we got a couple of guys that have stepped up and made a change from an outside linebacker, get him over on some tight end, and he's progressing. So,
Coach, on the defensive side of the football,
we're going to move Angelo Anderson out to some of the outside linebacker spot to give us a little more maturity there. And I think we're going to be okay in the secondary. We got some guys that are back. Donald Clay is a solid player that I think he'll have a chance to really step up and be a leader for us. So we're going to have to kind of find ourselves a little bit. Hopefully our offensive line is really going to be, I think, pretty good. I think a lot of those guys are back. Both our tackles are back. One of our guards are back, and so the other guys have all played some. So if we can just get a little time to mature on defense, I think we got enough talent back there to be pretty good.
Just talk about the non-district schedule and how important it is for you guys to play the top competition to get you ready for where you want to go.
Well, and that's the whole point. That we're going to play teams like Landry Walker because they're going to challenge you.
Yeah.
They're going to challenge you with their athleticism. They're going to challenge you in the environment that you're going to play in. They're going to challenge you because their coaches do an excellent job, and it keeps you sharp. It makes you be on your game. To be honest with you, we always made this Shreveport trip because number one, it's an excellent venue. The Battle on the Border is really done well, and they do a great job there, and the kids enjoy it. But part of that was because in the old days, and I hate to use that term, before we had this select and non-select business, you'd always go on the road to play big games,
right,
semifinal or final. And I thought it was a great opportunity for the kids to have a chance to go on the road, play good competition, just like we're going to have to do in the playoffs. And then, of course, come back and play in a team like Parkview Baptist, who's going to be an option team. And then we jump into a Warren Easton, who, again, is a lot like Landry Walker with skilled people and skilled athletes that are really a lot of them. It just gives you a great sense of where you are as a team, what you need to tweak, what you need to fix as a team to give you a chance to compete in your league and then eventually in the playoffs.
But talk about the Catholic League a little bit, and there seems to be a budding rivalry between John Curtis and Rummel, and I'm not discounting anyone else because I think there are legitimately 4 teams that could win the Catholic League this year. But just talk about how fun that's kind of been. You and Jay, obviously both very established coaches, very well-known coaches around the area and the state. How fun has that been for you to play them every year?
It has been. It's been a good district. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. They really handle their business of their district extremely well. And I've had the opportunity to be in a lot of districts, obviously, but they really handle it professionally, and I think they have the best interests of their kids at heart in everything that they do. And when I say their kids, I'm talking about the whole district generally. They try to do things the way they need to be done. But the competitiveness of the league in terms of coaching and preparation, you better be on your A game, because on any given and I was going to say Friday night, but it's or Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, whatever it turned out, you better be ready.
Yeah.
And that's been really exciting and challenging. And again, it goes into what we just talked about in terms of your physical preparation, making sure that your team is prepared but rested so that they can perform. And it's a challenge every week.
Coach, I do want to talk about some of the other teams in the district because Holy Cross has a new coach in Guy Lecomte, who I'm sure you know, and St. Augustine a new coach, and Nathaniel, and just talk about the whole landscape of the Catholic League is very interesting. And I didn't even mention Coach Bonice, who's coming back, and Brother Martin is going to be a lot better than they were, I think.
Well, it's really interesting to see how the landscape has changed so quickly. Of course, Guy and I have competed against each other a long time. First when he was at Salmon as an assistant, and then, of course, at Mandeville.
Right.
We played, I think it was either 6 or 8 straight years.
Jamboree.
In regular season.
In the regular season.
We opened up. I think it was 6 years we opened up.
First game, yeah.
So he'll do a great job. He really will. He is an intense guy. And he'll get that towel wrapped around his neck.
Yes, he will.
Here we go. Of course, Nathaniel Jones, I was familiar with him because of his relationship at Carr and St. Aug, and he'll do a great job as the head coach there. A guy that had coached in college. And
they have a ton of talent.
And they have a lot of good people back. And they always will.
Yeah.
And he'll do a good job with them. And then you get into the traditions, as you said, with Jay Roth and with Mark Bonice. Those guys just do a solid job. And Archbishop Shaw, I think, has turned the corner.
Maybe better.
I do. I think they're going to be a better football team. They've got their own place now that they're going to be playing. So I think this is going to be 6 straight weeks
and then,
of just
and then
a
don't
war.
forget just with Coach Mark Sanji and just an experienced guy who.
Well, Mark went through a hard year last year, and so many of those games his team was in. His quarterback against us last year got hot in the second half, and we had to hold on for dear life against him. So I think he's got a lot of that experience under his belt, and again, you're exactly right. I think he'll be a guy to be reckoned with. And like you said, I think there are 4 teams or so that have a chance to win the league, and I don't know if anybody can go undefeated, but it wouldn't surprise me if you lost one and had a chance to still be a co-champion.
Well, Coach, the winningest football coach in the nation, I don't need to have to worry about this big old story that would probably last for months. We'll have to do a bunch of follow-ups, so hold off a few years before you decide to hang him up.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but that's the plan right now.
Coach J.T. Curtis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Enjoyed it, Jim.